Bentornati qua su The Raven Remastered per un nuovo episodio. Io sono Fablinker e l'ultima volta ci eravamo mollati qua. Dovevamo andare sul ponte laterale, se non erro, se ricordo bene. Intanto noi ci andiamo e vediamo un po' che succede. Allora, eccoci qua.
Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed, and yet the murderer chose the one spot that's not
Infatti
actually possible.
non ha molto senso questa roba. Di qua invece cosa c'è? C'è il ponte di poppa. Andiamo a vedere un po' del ponte di poppa.
I'd really like to lie in the sun and take a nap, but I don't have time for that at the moment.
A chi non piacerebbe?
No, Jacob.
Perché no? Perché no?
Did Edison have any idea what would become of his invention? These things made quite a racket last night. I couldn't hear myself think.
Non riuscivo a sentirmi pensare, ma che vuol dire?
Big, soft towel. I could reserve a deck chair. No, better.
Certo che quella frase non ha veramente senso. Di qua non si può fare niente, eh? No. L'unica è entrare nel bar e vedere un po'. Perché di qua non c'è nessun'altra via d'uscita. Magari al bar scopriamo cose nuove. Un bel gin lemon, no?
How wonderful. Sunshine and a blue sky above the Mediterranean Sea. It would be a perfect...
Peccato che sia stato un omicidio, però. Dettagli. Comunque. Non posso andare dietro al bancone, vero? No, non posso andarci. Di qua non c'è niente, insomma. Nulla. Al bar non c'è veramente niente di niente. Io che pensavo di trovare qualcosa di interessante, invece. E invece. Riusciamo? Andiamo di nuovo al ponte? A sto punto. Grande perlustrazione della nave quest'oggi, Andiamo su e giù. Allora, lì abbiamo già visto le casse. Non possiamo fare niente. Andiamo di qua. Mi sa che alla fine dovremo andare su, principalmente. Ma noi la stiamo tirando per le lunghe. Allora, no, di qua non si può fare niente.
It may not seem like it, but Constable...
Cavolo, dorme, da quanto è efficace.
Constable Oliver... You can tell it's not the first time. The stowaway surely didn't sleep, although his cell is probably more comfortable.
Allora. Agente?
What's going on?
The Raven just flew by.
What?
Or at least, he might as well have.
I wasn't asleep.
I
No.
understand. It was just a ruse. Any conclusions about it?
Yeah, he's a bit foreign and whatnot.
I see. Did he act suspiciously in any...
No, the shot surprised him as much as it did me. Looked in on him earlier. Still seems to be asleep.
Covered with a blanket from head to toe?
Aha, he's still in there. I poked him.
May I go downstairs and have a couple of...
No, you
Come again?
Inspector Legrand wants to conduct all the interrogations himself.
I'm
Ma
sure
perché no?
he'll understand if I form my own conclusions.
He ordered me to guard the door.
How about a bit of individual...
How about letting a man do his job? Or do you think you'd be better at it?
Beh, sinceramente, più che dormire, direi che so farlo meglio io,
What do you think? What happened? What was he looking for in her cabin?
She was a rich woman.
Why did he lock the door?
Why not?
From inside? An impressive trick.
I'm not saying I know how he did it. I'm just saying that it was him.
Why didn't he leave a raven feather?
Are you serious? We'd have suspected him straight away.
But fortunately, we still did. Let's assume that the old raven really has returned and that he really is responsible for all this. Who is he? Or she?
Oh, could be anyone. No one's ever seen the Raven.
He could also be paying someone else to do his dirty work.
Well, of course. No, it's a fact that he used to work with partners. They even arrested some of his accomplices.
But no one could ever identify the Raven himself. Some claims that they didn't even know that they were working for him. Fascinating. He could have hired someone with financial difficulties to set off the alarm at a certain time without that person knowing why they were doing it.
The man Legrand shot back then, he was a famous safecracker. He could just as well have been a henchman.
Or the real Raven. There's probably no better cover for a big thief than acting like a small one. I don't want to keep you from your duties any longer.
Good idea.
Ah, già lì che dorme di nuovo, come se niente fosse. Non posso andare quindi io?
I have to, even though he was already under arrest. If I want to get into the, he won't let me talk.
Quindi
I guess whatever. The bottle should be full of water, unless the good no way to verify that.
niente. Almeno al momento non posso far niente, poi magari più avanti sì. Allora,
I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe the inventor realized that it's difficult to play ball games on a boat and came up with an alternative.
non ne ho idea. Sinceramente non ne ho idea. Su non ci posso andare. E qua non c'è nient'altro a sto punto. Guarda il mare.
Salty sea air in my old lungs, wind in my thinning hair. If I hadn't become a policeman, I could have been a sailor.
Sì, avresti potuto, ma non puoi più esserlo ormai. Comunque, visto che non possiamo andare giù al momento, saliamo, no? L'unica alternativa è salire su e vedere se troviamo qualcosa di utile al nostro episodio. Allora, sali le scale e andiamo a vedere un po' che cosa si trova sopra le scale.
We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway.
Ok, lascia.
Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered. Or they use it to enforce who's allowed on the boat and who's not. The ship's bridge. 2 men. One of them... I get the impression that the officers keep things running.
Ah, c'è qualcosa qua. C'è un angolo.
Dirt piled up down below where the passengers are. The ship is pretty clean.
Vabbè, diciamo che lì se ne fregano un po' di più già della cura. C'è una grata.
Great, must be part of the ship's ventilation.
Non possiamo fare nient'altro.
This isn't a panoramic deck for visitors. There are pipes, steel cables, chains up here. I have no idea how the ship works, and I really...
E...
The grate shouldn't be so easy to open. No. The pipe is too narrow.
Ah, c'è qualcos'altro qua.
A boat like... Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose? You can tell at a glance that everything... I could inform the cat, but if I start reporting all the problems on...
Ok, niente. Non posso far niente qua.
I better let the men do their work. If one of them had...
Scendiamo, non c'è niente di che, quindi l'unica è scendere e tornare qua.
I hope I don't find my...
Io sto provando un po' a vedere tutto, ma
The gangway. Why did the murderer drop the gun on the gang? So, why didn't they take the gun?
questo non te lo so dire, caro mio. Torniamo sul ponte di poppa. L'unica è girare e girare e vedere un po' cosa fare, insomma. Mamma mia che fastidio sto personaggio che si incastra sempre. Dà un fastidio che non avete idea. Si incastra di continuo. Veramente, ogni cosa che c'ha davanti si incastra. E beh, allora...
The ship must have been rebuilt at some point.
Qua non c'è niente. Che fare? Visto che si incastra, madonna mia. Torniamo al bar. Anzi, usciamo dal bar. A sto punto l'unica è andare giù di qua. Sempre se si può. Oppure...
I'm pretty sure the seal doesn't have any, but I'm still dependent on Legrand. I better not blow it by... I better ask Legrand. My investigations will be much more difficult.
Ma perché continua a darmi il segno di parlare di questa cosa?
I better ask my
Niente, ho capito. Scendi le scale. Mappamondo.
If Galileo hadn't asserted himself,
In effetti.
the globe nicely shows that for looking out the window, I'd call...
Di qua non si può andare. Questa stanza è inutile. Si può scendere di qua? Oh, si può scendere. Quindi c'è qualcosa da fare. Per un attimo pensavo di no. Mi stavo preoccupando. Questa stanza non l'avevo mai
A
vista.
model of the Lydia before it was rebuilt. The wide hallways, the cab. A pitiful attempt to make a bit of paint on the walls would have helped more, especially.
Piccole pietre.
Not only does the poor plant have to make do with...
Prendi le pietre. Ah, non lo so, però magari possono sempre tornarci utili.
Although
Non si sa mai.
an evacuation plan and and here a schedule of activities. A real barrel of...
Centro medico. Si può?
Come in.
Oh, si può entrare. Ci sarà il dottor Gebhardt, penso. Gebhardt, come si chiama? Dovrebbe chiamarsi così in teoria.
Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
And there's...
Excuse me?
You want something?
I'm afraid I do.
What at first? Well,
What's the result of your
she's dead.
Ma dai, veramente?
All night long, Dr. Gebhardt?
È morta, non me ne reso conto.
She was shot. Point blank shot. It seems like she was lying.
One shot?
More were unnecessary.
And there's just
Just one.
I am told.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell?
Me? Why should that be my...
Haven't you analyzed?
No, I haven't. The inspector said he's the better chemist. I let him do it. That way I could...
Sì, ho capito, però, insomma.
Do you think the Baroness might have been drugged? She was very tired and...
Yeah, I heard about... And without having seen her myself, it is hard to make a diagnosis.
Of course.
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens
no.
more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors. And it is possible that the Baroness...
Do you know whose glass I drank from?
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti handed me a...
I... don't know. Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did.
Which, in retrospect...
Ah.
Have you already...
Did Legrand send you? What I already told you. That is also what I told the constable, who he kept sending.
Did he look over your shoulder?
He probably wanted to take the scalpel from my hand and hack away.
That's understand.
Send my regards to him.
Thanks.
No. That is it for now. I'm going to lie down. Can you
Ecco.
tell that to your boss?
But...
Ma mi ha tipo buttato fuori così come se niente fosse.
could I at least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again...
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find
Niente.
me. In my cabin. In bed. Good night, Constable Zellner.
Ci ha cacciato.
Neither Dr. Gebhardt, but in contrast to good old Robert, the doctor... I wonder what would happen if Legrand... We're lucky that the Lydia has a well... I suppose it was added during the war. A ship of... Dr. Gebhardt closed the... Who'd want to be greeted by a...
Tanto non riesco a entrare. Dove
Dr.
va?
Gebhardt locked the door. Something tells...
Vabbè. Come non detto. Come non detto. Di qua c'è altro? No, non c'è
An
altro.
alarm like this one was... This one hasn't been set off. I'm not paying for this trip. It's rather... That is Legrand's... That is Legrand...
Entriamo, proviamo. Parliamo con lui. Vediamo che ci dice.
Ah, Zellner, are you ready?
Good morning and... My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate.
Hmm?
That's why you have a headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
What have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Indeed. And do you find that probable?
Not a bit.
Neither do I.
What kind of a gun is it?
A pistol, a Luger 08.
Antique.
Manufactured 1,000,000 times during and after the First World War. Austrian model. The owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims
Ma
that
perché
it
avere
was
una
stolen.
pistola allora? Cioè non ha senso portarsi dietro una
But it's worth
pistola.
mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
And it's definitely the murder weapon.
The ballistic tests are incomplete. Actually, I've been waiting far too long for the bullet recovered from the corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit, Zellner, and see that he does his job.
About the bullet, here it is.
Excellent. Give it to me.
Che poi comunque lo sparo era 1.
A 7.65
Quindi
Parabellum Luger.
perché mancavano 2 proiettili?
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, we can assume that we had the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger 08 pistols on board.
Almeno mi auguro che non ce ne siano.
The Baroness's cabin.
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure. But what about now, by daylight?
Yes, yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Thanks. I'll let you...
But only then, please.
Of course. Do you believe the violinist?
You'll be the first person I question. He claims he can't remember anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a
però
bottle of schnapps.
He
non
was on
male,
the train and he doesn't have an alibi. His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
Il capitano.
I think it was
No.
the captain. But he could have
Niente.
got the glass from someone else.
Non l'ho potuto selezionare perché mi sono sbagliato i tasti. Perché se voi spingete i tasti, cioè gli analogici ci vanno, ma quegli altri non vanno.
You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key.
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
Surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys, that's right.
Do you really think that the Raven is behind all this?
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train. Without the letter, we wouldn't have opened the safe, and the bomb wouldn't have exploded.
But it doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part because he never hurt anyone, much less killed anyone, during a burglary.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea.
Bisogna capire chi è stato.
Inspector Legrand, are you okay? Maybe you should take a break.
O forse
I can sleep once I've caught
ha un
the
po'
Raven.
bevuto, forse, con la bottiglia e il bicchiere lì vicino. Non vorrei dire, ma
Be seeing you.
di solito. È un po' sospetta la situazione. Comunque, ragazzi, l'indagine sta prendendo forma,
Legrand is risking not just he's working like a demon. Maybe that's why he caught the Raven and no one else.
Non possiamo rientrare volendo? No, niente. Di qua non possiamo.
That is
Come in.
Ancora. Ok, proviamo a vedere se possiamo esplorare un po' la cabina. Se si può, non so se si possa fare.
Constable?
No, mi sa di no. O parlo o niente.
About the
Do you know how you wound up with the glass?
Not yet.
Then you should stop wasting.
Allora niente,
I'll
non
be
posso
in
fare
touch.
nient'altro.
Very well.
L'unica è cercare altro. Anzi, ispezionare la cabina della baronessa innanzitutto, visto che ho il via libera, e poi vedere un po'. Allora, ragazzi, prima di ispezionare la cabina della baronessa mi fermerei qua al momento e direi che ci becchiamo al prossimo video. Ciao ragazzi.